And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, as well as X at Coffee Talk Chat, although I cannot cast there, fistfulofradio.com, and maybe Rumble, maybe, in theory, according to Restream, right now I am casting to Rumble. I don't know if I am or not, though, so that is neither confirmed nor denied at the moment. Hopefully I am, and we'll see how that works out. And that is, and I'll put it on here as soon as I cut that lousy music off. That is Coffee Talk 2 on Rumble, but I don't know if it's working or not. Restream says it is, but I couldn't see it on Rumble. I'm working on it. Being joined today by Miss Kitty, sitting in the background there in the chair, or laying in the background, so maybe she'll keep us company here. And as always, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, and I'll say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in on the live portion here. I see Helter has joined us today, as well as Dragon, Brian, Raccoon, Tuck. And Dragon says, mentions Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I have something on that, actually. Let's discuss Jimmy Carter here really quickly. 100 years old. 100 years old, oldest surviving president, I believe, who has been in hospice for quite some time. So he's been ill for quite a while. Really not much in terms of a legacy. He was not a good president. He was not a good politician. And his big claim to fame was the Department of Education, which is a failure. The Department of Education has done nothing but mire educational institutions, primarily public schools, and by default, many private schools, in red tape and bureaucracy for decades. It's been a disaster. Jane Spitfire has joined us, as well as Monkey. And of course, they dug up Biden out of his vacation. As you recall, he is in St. Croix. Biden is in St. Croix for his annual taxpayer-funded full family vacation. So everybody, cousins, nephews, sisters, brothers, pizza delivery boy is at the island with them. And you're paying for it. But they dug him up. And of course, he can't not make it political and use it as an opportunity to take digs at political opposition instead of just talking about Carter, which is about all that you should be doing, whether it's positive or negative. But no, Daily Mail article, Biden uses remarks about Jimmy Carter's death to take digs at Trump. President Joe Biden made some not so subtle digs at President-elect Trump as he spoke about the life of the late President Jimmy Carter Sunday night from St. Croix. Biden reiterated several times the 100-year-old Carter stood for decency. Did he? Quote, "Can you imagine Jimmy Carter walking by someone who needs something and just keeps walking?" Biden asked. Actually, yes, I could. Can you imagine Jimmy Carter referring to someone by the way they look or the way they talk? I can't. During his almost 9 years in politics, Trump has frequently made fun of opponents, including the way they look and how they talk. Trump mimicked Biden's stutter on a number of occasions. Speaking to reporters amid his traditional New Year's vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Biden pressed that Americans would do well to try and be a little more like Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I don't think so. In today's world, Some look at Jimmy Carter and see a man of a bygone era with honesty and character, faith and humility. It mattered, according to Biden. This is a quote again. But I don't think it's bygone era. I see a man not only of our time, but for all times. Someone who embodied the most fundamental human values who can never let slip away, although sometimes it seems like it is. Okay. Indeed. Indeed. Jimmy Carter was not a good politician. He was not a good president. He really didn't leave much behind of any note, any notability. Again, the Department of Education, but as I pointed out, the Department of Education was a disaster. It is a disaster because it's still functioning. Tuck says nothing to celebrate. His legacy is ruinous. And Puck says Jimmy Carter was fortunately a one-term president. Tuck says Trump's opponents did the same about countless opponents and their families, one being one of the Palin children. Yeah, they all do it. They all do it, but for some reason we only notice it in the media when it's Donald Trump, although the media has been backing off of him quite a bit lately and focusing more on the failures of the current administration. And again, this is supposed to be casting to Restream, and I don't know if it is. Coffee Talk 2 on Restream. I don't know if it's there. And if it is there, I don't know if I can see their comments if somebody did comment on Restream. I'm experimenting with it to see if I can get casting to Restream because Rumble said that they can, but again, I don't know that they are. But yeah, I mean, that's nothing, again, that Trump's opponents do not or have not done in the past, but for some reason, they only seem to want to notice it when Trump does it. And it'd be nice if he's going to read talking points that a speechwriter gave to him about Jimmy Carter, because I doubt anything is off the top of his head, that he could just talk about Jimmy Carter without invoking anything else. But they can't do it. They can't do it. He even did this when he was at the last two World War II memorial in France just recently, just this last year, right? Made all sorts of political digs at Trump at that time. Brian says they only care when Trump does it. And Puck wants to know, did you see the pictures of Biden meeting Hunter's business partners blocked by Obama finally released? Yes, actually, that's coming up. That's coming up. But, and also, interestingly enough, Biden claims now that, and I don't have the article pulled up, so I'm paraphrasing, claims that if he had been allowed to continue to run, that he would have beaten Trump where Harris failed. I don't see it. I don't see that happening. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I think it would have been an even bigger disaster for the Democrat Party than it already was if it was Biden instead of Harris. An even bigger failure is my opinion of that. But what are you going to do? So we get ready to swing in here. We're going to open up a New York Post article, and that does tie in with what was just mentioned here about the photographs, because that's important. It's very important. I don't know if it's going to mention it in the article or not because I haven't read it yet. But Biden denied for years that anything like that ever occurred. But now there's photographic evidence, and it is authentic. It is authentic, and apparently it has been covered up. New York Post, feds finally release photographs showing then Vice President Biden meeting son Hunter's China business partners days before he leaves office. And I believe that one of these people is actually, at the time, the vice president in China. So National Archives have finally released photos showing then Vice President Biden meeting with two of his first son Hunter Biden's Chinese government-linked business partners, again, proving that the president lied about not interacting with his family's foreign patrons. There it is. The photos released long after the potential political salience and days before, salience it says, and days before Biden retires on January 20th also show Chinese President Xi Jinping, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, grinning as then Vice President Biden introduced his son during the same December 2013 trip to Beijing. Yeah, he's got that slimy little smirk on his face, like he knows something. The Xi Hunter Biden encounter, which had not previously garnered much attention, appears to have been at a meal Hunter described in an email to his former associate Devon Archer as pretty amazing, because his dad and China's powerful authoritarian leader were supposed to spend 2 hours together, but it stretched to 7. I think they are in love. Quote from Hunter. Xi was about 2 months into his ambitious Belt and Road foreign influence and investment campaign, and a Chinese state-backed company aligned with that vision, BHR Partners, was in the process of being co-launched by Hunter. The photos, which have been politically explosive if they were released during the now closed House impeachment inquiry into alleged Biden family corruption, show the elder Biden shaking hands with incoming BHR Partners CEO Jonathan Lee and greeting the firm's managing director Ming Zhu. Yeah, so there it is. They care. And Tuck says, LOL, he's blaming Harris. I love it. Yeah, of course. And John is here. He says, cat fan here. Yeah, Miss Kitty is behind me, lounging in the chair, keeping me company today. This goes on to say the troubled now 54-year-old first son held a 10% stake in BHR. Wow. Through at least part of his dad's presidency, and says he relinquished control to his sugar brother, Kevin Morris, who has loaned Hunter a sum believed to top $6.5 million since meeting him in 2019. Wow. Did he get any of that money back? The photos were released to the America First Legal Foundation in response to a transparency lawsuit. AFL obtained the photos through our lawsuit against the National Archives and Records Administration, which was filed September 8th, 2022. The group led by President-elect Trump's advisor, Stephen Miller, wrote on X. So they've been trying to get these pictures released for years. Look at this one. Joe Biden pictured shaking hands with BHR Partners CEO Jonathan Liu, or is it Lee? L-I? Lee, Lai, Liu, I don't know. The latest release does not document Joe Biden's alleged interactions with his son and brother James Biden, associates from a second major Chinese state-linked company. Biden allegedly attended an early 2017 lunch at Washington's Four Seasons Hotel with CEFC China Energy's chairman Yi Jinming shortly before an initial $3 million flowed to a consortium of Biden family associates. Former Biden family associate Rob Walker testified to Congress, but they couldn't prove it at the time. But now here's your proof. But now also those hearings are closed. Unless you're going to reopen them, which I doubt. The guy on the right looks like he's wearing his dad's suit. See how big the shoulder pads are in that suit? Like he doesn't fit in there. Yeah. They look really chummy here. There's a lot going on in those pictures. Lot going on. Yeah, more corruption. More proof of corruption. Too late to do anything about it. And Puck says the Clinton Crime Family Foundation should also be investigated. Sure, but what'll come of it? Who's going to do it? What's going to come out of it? What are they going to prove? Who is it? Haiti's been suing them for that $5 billion in relief donations. $5 billion in relief that disappeared years ago. They haven't even seen a day in court, have they? Are they ever going to get that money? Are they ever going to find out what happened to it? Not likely. Brian says his tie and face look goofy too. Yeah, the suit looks too big. Gigantic, like 80s shoulder pads. And Jericho says it's crazy how some of these pictures like this AI has become so influential we can't even depict if those pictures are real or not. That could be. That could be. But yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But that he's not nearly done. All the way from St. Croix, still sabotaging things while on vacation, while we're still on the subject of Biden. And this is going to be an LA Times article coming up here in a moment. Biden announces nearly, another 2.5 billion more in military aid for the Ukraine. Keep it up, Biden. Keep it up. Where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from? This guy, I swear to God. President Biden said Monday that the United States will send nearly 2.5 billion more in weapons to Ukraine as his administration works quickly to spend all the money it has available to help Kiev fight off Russia before President-elect Trump takes office. The package includes 1.25 billion in presidential drawdown authority, which allows the military to pull existing stock from its shelves and get weapons to the battlefield faster. It also has 1.222 billion in longer-term weapons packages to be put on contract through the separate Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. Biden said all longer-term USAI funds have now been spent and pledged to use all the remaining drawdown money before leaving office. Quote, I've directed my administration to continue surging as much assistance to Ukraine as quickly as possible. At my direction, the United States will continue to work relentlessly to strengthen Ukraine's position in the war over the remainder of my time in office. He's going to spend every available dime of your tax dollars. The new aid comes as Russia has launched a barrage of attacks against Ukraine's power facilities in recent days. Although Ukraine has said it intercepted a significant number of the missiles and drones, Russian and Ukrainian forces are also still in a bitter battle around the Russian border region of Kursk, where Moscow has sent thousands of North Korean troops to help reclaim territory taken by the Ukraine. The Biden administration is pushing to get weapons into the Ukraine to give Kiev the strongest negotiating position possible before Trump's inauguration. Trump has talked about getting some type of negotiated settlement between Ukraine and Russia and has praised Russian President Vladimir Putin. It was probably praised Putin for not just totally sinking into the Ukraine and holding out a little while longer. Puck suggests that a Trump Department of Justice would do it if he's a man of his word. We'll see what happens. Johnny is here. He says, wanted to say real quick, he had the privilege of meeting Carter on 2 occasions at a book signing in Portland. He did more things post-presidency than while in office. And Raccoon says, he's laundering that money. Probably. Johnny says, imagine what would happen if Trump did this much spending before leaving office. He'd be crucified by the media. Yeah, Biden isn't getting the fanfare in the media that he was previously. He used to be the media's little darling. He was the media's little elderly Cupid doll. Not anymore. They trash Biden in the media now. It still doesn't change anything. We're not going to get this money back. It's going to be hard to shut it off. Trump takes office, it's going to be hard to shut that money off. If there's contracts, you don't just cancel those contracts. It's not that simple. Even with using his presidential privilege and signing it. signing it off. He can't do it. It's not that easy. And that's what Biden's trying to do. But it's our money, and there's only so much to go around. These politicians have wasted so much money, and the national debt is insane. And our number one, again, the number one thing that we pay every year in taxes, the U.S. government, it's not military. It's the interest on the national debt. The interest on the national debt is the number one thing paid by the U.S. government every year. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Number one. Number two, a combination of welfare programs. And when you put all welfare programs together, that would be like number two. And then way up there also, I think 3 and 4 are tied between the Department of Education and the military, which makes no sense. That's a lot of damage. I don't know if it can be fixed in 4 years. I don't know if it can be fixed in 4 years. I don't think that it can. And then Puck says Biden was never in charge. Anyways, 40% of his term was spent on vacation. He had nothing else to do. Yeah, I mean, he's been a puppet his whole career. 50 years in politics. I don't know if he's ever made any decisions of his own. Johnny suggests once you open the floodgates, it's nearly impossible to close. And Raccoon says, I bet Elon would get us back in the black if he was president. Enough of this ridiculous spending. Yeah, unfortunately, Elon cannot be president because he was not born in America. But, maybe someone will win the lottery and help them out. And there was another big Mega Millions jackpot. And I'm going to read the story and see if anyone can guess why. Where am I going with this? A common complaint I have about the big lotteries recently. This is a Reuters article, actually. Mega Millions player in California wins $1.3 billion jackpot. $1.3 billion jackpot. A Mega Millions ticket holder in California woke up much richer on Saturday after they matched all 6 numbers in the lottery house in the lottery hours before to win an estimated $1.3 billion, the 5th largest jackpot in the game's history. The winning ticket that matched the numbers plus the gold mega ball during Friday's drawing was sold in Cottonwood, California, 200 miles north of San Francisco. Mega Millions said in a statement. And then you see this person that looks like a meth zombie filling out lottery numbers. And Tuck says, as you can see, I didn't win the mega. Nope. And Puck says we had a Kenyan president once. Yeah, but you can't prove it. That's the problem, Puck. Can't prove it. My issue, of course, with the Mega Millions jackpot. Remember the last few times I read about a Mega Millions or Powerball jackpot that was over $1 billion? Where was it? California. There's been, between Mega Millions and Powerball, there's been 11, I think this year, 11 massive jackpots like this. And all but 2 or 3 of them were in California. I know California has a large population, but when you consider that most of North America participates, you would think someone somewhere else would win one of these jackpots. Why is it always in California? I think that's suspicious, and I think that should be investigated. I don't know. And I heard that they were going the last time, a few months back, a couple of months ago, when somebody won a big jackpot there like this, $1 billion something. They said they wanted to investigate it. I don't know if they are or not. Raccoon says all the big winners are in California. And Jane says, California, what's the reason? And Monkey says, if I had to guess, it's the taxing from the lottery winning, ending up with the person winning 40% of the jackpot. Yeah, California is going to have the highest level of taxes, I believe, right? Because don't they do city, state, and county, and for lottery winnings? I'm not sure. Tuck thinks it's rigged. Jane says, do they make the lotto tickets there? I have no idea. I don't know where it's drawn, but I think it's highly suspicious that it almost always is in California for those big numbers. And again, I know California has a big population, but it can't counterbalance the entire population of the United States, whereas most of these jackpots are in, so let me see how many states. 45 states participate in Powerball. And also 45 states participate in Mega Millions. So that means even though California has a big population, okay, even though California has a really big population, they're competing against 44 other states. And there's the disclosure there, 45 states, that's the Mega Millions. You're competing against 44 other states and all those people that play. If you said half the people that play are in California, then the rest of the states statistically should win almost half the time, but they don't. It's almost always California. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's rigged. I think that should seriously be investigated. Johnny says lotteries are intentionally manipulated to favor lottery boards and commission. Tuck says taking a lump sum costs you 50%. Yeah, because if you take the lump sum instead of taking the 20-year payments, they assume roughly 50% of the winnings anyways. So if it was $1 billion jackpot, it automatically becomes 500 million and then is subject to tax. It says Florida has no state or county income tax, so you just lose another 24% to the Fed, which is still insane. It's still insane. I mean, it's nice to get a little jackpot there, a little bit of a payoff, but they take so much. They take so much from you. It just doesn't make any sense. It's disturbing how much they got to gouge people, how much they've got to tear into everyone. You're already taxed to death as it is. And Ronald Reagan is the only one who ever told the truth about that in politics. People don't realize how much tax they actually pay. It's more than half your income, not just what you pay out of your paycheck, but when you buy or sell anything, you're taxed. The things that you buy, some of the cost is to offset tax that the companies that manufacture the goods pay. When you pay your utilities, there's tax included in those utilities. There's tax on your phone, there's tax on your garbage pickup, tax on your water. It's in there. If you own property taxes. If you drive a car, the taxes you pay on your tags and so on. There's taxes on literally everything that you do, and it adds up to way more than half your income when you really look at it in a broad perspective of how much is taken out of everything. How much is taken out of everything? It's embarrassing, and then they're going to gouge you again. And Jericho says, what I don't get is how we still have lottery games and yet we're in debt. Yeah, where's that money go? Because the lottery, they tell you it goes to public schools and parks and recreation and roads and all this other stuff that they're supposed to spend this money on, but are they? And I brought it up before when I lived in Illinois. The lottery Commission temporarily suspended the state of Illinois for not paying its winners because they redirected lottery funds to go to road services illegally because they didn't have any money. And it's like, well, you're supposed to be paying for your roads out of the tolls that you charge, which is a lot. The toll charges in Illinois are insane. There's toll roads all over the damn place. You're supposed to be paying for that. And they had to borrow from the Lottery Commission for that and couldn't pay their winners. They were suspended for some months. And Kuchatron says Taxman by the Beatles, exactly. And John says land of the fee and home of the slave. Puck says because we're a nation of sheep, founders would be embarrassed. From the days of the founders where they tarred and feathered taxmen. This I found interesting. Nobody's been talking about anything going on in the Middle East for a while, so I may as well. New York Post article. Post-election team Biden finally slams bogus claims about famine in Gaza. Because guess what? They're not starving to death. It's a lie. And the number of people they told you has died is a lie. And the collateral damage they've mentioned is a lie. So Team Biden slamming reports that warn of famine in northern Gaza. What a difference that an election makes. No kidding. The report Monday by the Famine Early Warning Systems Network claims that 65 to 75,000 people lack access to sufficient supplies of food. Israel's near total blockade of humanitarian and commercial food supplies has triggered mass starvation in northern Gaza, according to that program. Fresh fodder for Israel haters to sling unhinged accusations about Jewish state perpetrating genocide. But apparently there is no near total blockade and never has been, nor per Israeli and UN estimates are there 65,000 people in northern Gaza, let alone starving ones, but less than 1,500 people are actually in northern Gaza anyways. So how can there be 65 to 75,000 people there starving when there's less than 15,000 people in that entire area? So at a time when inaccurate information is causing confusion and accusations, it's irresponsible to issue reports like this, according to the ambassador to Israel. But now the current executive administration, the Biden administration, has had to confirm that. Yeah, those estimates are not true. They're not true. And Didi says foreigners own the toll roads. Yeah, several of the toll roads in the United States are subcontracted outside of the United States. Tuck says Florida lottery profits are supposed to go to schools. Tallahassee immediately redirected other tax revenue away from schools to other things. Nothing really accomplished. And Johnny says, I have a better chance of dying in a plane crash than winning the lottery. Yeah, pretty much. And Tuck says, are leftos calling UN observers liars? That would be funny. Essentially, that's what's happening here, which is why I thought this was interesting. And like the writer of the article suggests, what a difference an election makes. Because they wouldn't have admitted this if Harris had won. But you can't claim that up to 75,000 people are starving to death in northern Gaza when there's nobody there. Less than 15,000 people are in northern Gaza, and there is no blockade there, apparently. So the government-funded watchdog isn't telling the truth. And that is the Famine Early Warnings System Network, which is funded by your tax dollars, is not telling the truth. They lied. They lied about those numbers, but you know the media will take it and run with it under normal circumstances. But now they're admitting, they're posting that news because Biden and Harris lost. They lost, and they don't want to be on the wrong side of history. They don't really care about what's going on. They don't care about what they report. They care about who they suck up to. They care about who they suck up to. This is also something I thought was really interesting. We're going to jump to New York really quickly and take a look at Governor Hochul doing something that I'm sure will get shot down, because I'm pretty sure you can't do this because it makes no sense. You can't demonstrate how it's going to work. And this is an Albany Times Union article. Hochul signs a $75 billion climate superfund bill targeting oil companies. This makes no sense. Oil and gas companies could be on the hook for billions of dollars to compensate for environmental pollution after Governor Kathy Hochul on Thursday signed the Climate Change Superfund Act, a long-cherished priority for advocates who blame global warming on fossil fuels. Democratic lawmakers and environmental advocates have asserted that fossil fuel producers have historically knowingly downplayed the effects of the production of fossil fuels on the environment and have been responsible for the emission of greenhouse gases that have contributed to global warming and other negative. We're saying global warming again? I thought we got away from that. And other negative effects of the climate. The solution advocates have suggested is to compel those companies to pay into a $75 billion superfund that would be used to pay for climate resiliency projects around New York. What the hell is a climate resiliency project? Where's that money going? How are they going to spend it? They're going to pay themselves to advertise to people about climate? Business groups had opposed legislation blaming consumers and noting that the regulations would likely drive up costs for households and businesses. That's true, because they can't afford that. I don't care how big these oil and gas companies are. $75 billion kick in the nuts is not going to fly. They can't sustain that. We've already got power companies in the United States that are declaring bankruptcy. Biden administration just bailed one out in California a week ago. Okay. So what are they going to do? Raise rates. Raise rates on a service that has to be provided because there is no viable resource to take its place. The windmills and the solar panels don't work. There has also been tacit acknowledgement that the legislation will likely face court challenges. Yeah, because you cannot force these companies. You can't just sign a bill that says, oh, we're going to make these companies pay us $75 billion, and we're going to take that money and dump it into programs to demonstrate climate change. What the hell is that? Where's that money going? How is it going to benefit anybody? And League of Smoke has joined us. Puck says oil and gas companies should stop selling and providing in New York State. Let them burn wood and mattresses for heat. Yeah, if they shut that off, I don't think they can just say you're not sending any electricity to New York. I don't think they can do it. And there's a racial dynamic of this as well. I don't know if it mentions it here, but it talks about in one of these articles that I read on this, it talked about helping people with racial disparity pertaining to climate initiatives. So I guess Black and Hispanic people suffer more from the climate somehow, which makes no sense. It says the Climate Change Superfund Act is now law, and New York has fired a shot that will be heard around the world. The companies most responsible for the climate crisis will be held accountable. And that's according to Senator Liz Krueger. I hope we've made ourselves very clear. The planet's largest climate polluters bear a unique responsibility for creating the climate crisis, and they must pay their fair share. Wow, I'm sick of hearing that phrase. to help regular New Yorkers deal with the consequences. The regular New Yorkers are the ones that are going to hurt because the prices are going to go up if this passes. Which they signed it into law, but I guarantee after it's been mired in court for a few years, it'll disappear. Because you really cannot force them to do this. Speaking of which, and this is really important, is this a Telegraph? No, a Western Journal article coming up. And it ties in with this. It ties in with this and these climate initiatives and all of this money that they take and they propose to take from these companies. Western Journal article. Climate scam is unraveling. The World Bank doesn't know where $41 billion in funding actually goes. They don't know. It says a recent story made the rounds on social media. According to reports, Oxfam, the British NGO, found that a huge chunk of the World Bank's spending on climate change related issues is missing. It says, thank heavens for fact checkers like the Australian Associated Press, a Poynter Institute accredited fact checker from down under, which set us straight. An Oxfam report did not find that 41 billion US dollars is missing from the World Bank's climate change fund, contrary to what it claimed online. It says the Oxfam report found that the World Bank doesn't really know where the money went. The controversy centers around an October 2024 report titled Climate Finance Unchecked. How much does the World Bank know about the climate actions it claims? Answers: apparently not as much as it probably should. The findings are front-loaded in a TLDR on page 2 of the 33-page report. In case you're not interested in reading the whole thing, Oxfam finds that for World Bank projects, many things can change during implementation. On average, actual expenditures on the bank's projects differ from the budgeted amounts by as much as 26 to 43% above or below claimed climate finance across the entire climate finance portfolio. Well, that's convenient. That's a big window. This difference amounts to anywhere from 24.28 billion to 41.32 billion, according to the report. And unfortunately, it says no information is available about what new climate actions were supported and which planned actions were cut. So now the World Bank doesn't know where that 41 billion in funding went, and that's dollars. Puck says 41 billion went to climate grifters. And here's Country Living joining us. They say check the pockets of all the elites in the WEF. And it is a scam. And that's what Trump has been saying for years. It's a climate scam. How do you not know what you did with $41 billion? And it's just not there. And you ask, and they're like, I don't know what happened to it. What money? It could be anywhere. We don't know what we did. Puck says, yes, you can, barring contractual agreements. You cannot force a business to sell you a product, oil and gas. This isn't Europe. Really? I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if they could just say we're not selling anything to New York. It'd be interesting if they did that. Yeah, it'd be interesting if they did that. I don't know if they'd have the coconuts to try it. They sure would look evil if they did. Although I have to say I couldn't blame them. But there's your climate initiative, folks. Where did that 41 billion in funding go? Nobody can answer the question. Oxfam doesn't know. The World Bank doesn't know. The Australian Associated Press that did the investigation doesn't know. Where's that money? What was it spent on? Who did they give it to? That's your tax dollars. Where the hell is it? Where the hell is it? And we're supposed to trust Hochul with her $75 billion make them pay their fair share bullshit program. And they're going to spend the money on what? Where and how? And how is it supposed to help the climate do anything? What are you going to spend that money on? Bureaucracy to whine about climate change? Incredible. Now, as I get going here, this is a news clip, Fox Atlanta, and I wanted to show this. I hope I can play this clip without any problems. And it's talking about squatters and how ridiculous the entire situation with squatters has become in the Western world. It's not just the United States this is a problem. But this news report is infuriating. It's infuriating. Monkey says, yet people fall for this scam of our climate being shitty and that we'll die in X amount of years. I've been listening to it my whole life, going all the way back to the acid rain garbage in the late 70s and early 80s. And all these maps that they would show us saying that by the year 2000, Florida was going to be underwater and all the rest of the bullshit. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens. It's all talk. Puck says anyone that embraces global initiatives is an enemy of the Republic. Hey, Miss Kitty. How you doing? You waking up? Miss Kitty, everybody. But I'm going to try to play this this news clip. I'm going to interrupt it a couple of times because there's some points I'm going to make. Because this entire situation, including the way that the police officers acted and reacted here, is infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. I really feel for this woman. Let me see if I can get that centered right.
Man, get out of my house, please.
Oh my God.
Get out of my house, please.
Crazy.
I haven't seen it. She said she was on the way to the car and she came back with
Did
the
you
bag.
go?
Get out of my house, ma'am.
Now you see this one girl with her cell phone with her shirt open and her bra and breasts hanging out. Just wanted to point that out. This is this woman. Those people that are in this house are squatters. They've been there forever. This lady's trying to get them out.
Police?
Get out of my house, please.
Did you call the police?
Just get out.
A Georgia homeowner was arrested after attempting to remove a squatter from inside her own home. You heard that right there. It wasn't the squatter who was the homeowner.
This is unbelievable. And when talking to the police, she was told to, quote, look at things from the squatter's point of view. Really? Lolitha Hale joins us now. She's facing charges of criminal trespassing in her own home. And you actually had won. You went to court months ago. You fought the battle. You won the battle. And you were going back in. And then you were arrested. Explain what it felt like when you were in a cop car, having gone through that months-long battle of winning your rights back, and watching a stranger go into your mom's house.
Now, can you hear that all right? Can you guys hear that all right? Think about what's going on here. Now, this woman, and this is in the Atlanta area, okay, Georgia homeowner, she's been months trying to get these people evicted, okay, and they're not even tenants. They are the squatters' rights that are protecting them, and I don't know why there is such a thing as squatters' rights in the first place, okay? Again, let me know if you could hear that clearly, because I know it seemed a little low. She won a court. She took them to court. She won. She had the rights to evict these people. These people are not tenants. The younger girl, I believe, is a former girlfriend of a previous tenant. So they were never on a lease. The other family's gone. These people came in. Okay? These people came in. She went to court, got the rights to reclaim the property. They still won't leave. They called the police on her and she went to jail for trespassing. She owns the house. The police officer on the body camera telling the woman, you need to look at it from their perspective. You have so much more than they do. Are you shitting me? Take them to your house. Let them stay with you then. You have more than they do. All they're doing is taking advantage. Taking advantage. Monkey says the only squatting I'd be okay with is the houses that are Victorian homes, abandoned homes, if you're willing to fund and rebuild the house. These people are destroying, the property's being ruined by those people, by the way. This is part of the reason why she had come down there with her husband in the first place, is to do assessments, because the house is destroyed. It needs to be repaired. It needs to be repaired. Let me get back into this.
Well, thank you for having me. It was just a very unbelievable, surreal. I could not believe that it was happening. I just could, and I still to this day cannot believe that it even happened.
I can't believe it happened to you.
Water.
I can't believe it happened either. And watching the video is really, you're not the only person. This has been happening in different parts of the country.
Oh, sorry, ad interrupting. And yeah, of course, the reporter there is correct. That's happening all across the United States.
And Americans, Lalitha, really feel like the justice system has abandoned them somehow, and that law enforcement has abandoned them. Tax-paying citizens pay for services, protection, to feel safe, and yet you walk into your own property and you're arrested. They're telling you, think about how the squatter feels. I mean, there's something wrong with the logic there.
Yes, there's absolutely no logic. Legal or otherwise, there's no logic. It's my opinion. I think most Americans is no homeowner should ever be arrested when it comes to a squatter situation. It should never happen. I am a part of the same system that I've been trying to rely on to assist me in this situation, and it has not been very, as you can see, it's been futile, for lack of a better word. I'm a part of that very system that is not working for me, even as a member of office of the court.
Yeah, I mean, the court found in her favor, and she still can't put them out. Still can't put them out. JD wants to know if the video and audio are out of sync for anyone else. It looks like the video is about half a second ahead of the audio. It could be restream, just having an issue again. Puck says the person who said that should be fired. That was the police officer. I saw the other footage from the police body camera. I don't know if it's on this video clip, but the officer tells her point blank, try to think of it from their perspective. You have so much more than they do. I might be paraphrasing that a little bit, but I'm like, seriously, I'd get in more trouble. It's like, take them to your home, officer. You put them up. You take care of them. You have them on your property and see how you feel about it. Country says they don't want you to own anything. You'll own nothing and be happy. Everything is everyone's. And Puck says you have no right to another person's property. You shouldn't. And a squatter should be removed with extreme prejudice. There should be no question, none. They're there. They're causing damage. They're not paying for anything. Get the hell out of here. Going back a little bit, once upon a time, they used to shoot squatters. I'm not kidding. Back in the Wild West, you put a bullet through a squatter. People knew to stay the hell off your property. Monkey says that this squatting from the Fox News clip is shitty. Screw those that use the court system to force squatters to live there. They're punishing the homeowner. They are. And they're going to ruin that property. They've already damaged it. It's already trashed up. And she basically was going down there for discovery. Okay, what needs to be fixed? How much trash needs to be taken out? How much repainting needs to be done? How many windows need to be replaced? So on and so forth. The laundry list needed to be written up, and they're back in there again. And then she gets arrested when they call the police. JD says if the courts and law enforcement refuse to solve the problem, the homeowner should just look for some street justice. Street justice. Chuck says the country demands she keeps paying property taxes. That's right. Or county. Absolutely. She has to pay taxes on that property. That is correct. And because people are living in that property, she's required by law to maintain it so it can be habitable. So she can't screw around shutting off utilities or doing anything like that because they can't live in those kind of conditions. That's against the law. That's another angle. So she can't call the power company and say, hey, shut that power off. Those people aren't supposed to be there. Nope. That'd be a violation of their rights. Puck says, does that police officer have the same response for a family of a murder victim? No kidding. Yeah, think about it from the murderer's perspective. Let's see here.
Letha, one of the problems is that so many damn laws now that protect people who maybe shouldn't be protected. That at the sacrifice of law-abiding citizens, we have given so many extra little gimmies, legal gimmies to the squatters and the people who are doing illegal things that it's almost impossible to be in a position where you can justify your own law-abiding rights. I mean, there really has to be changes in the law because I guess what they did, the reason you were arrested, you didn't have even though you won that court case, you didn't have a proper writ or something like that, some legal document to get her out, right?
Right. But yeah, even with that in mind, even though I knew, well, I thought she was gone, number one. We thought she had vacated the premises. We had from a reliable source had informed us that she had vacated the premises. But I feel very confident in saying that I know when Brian Kemp signed that law signed that act into law, the Squatters Act, whatever they called it, but that he did not intend for homeowners to be arrested.
Yeah, I guess the reason they arrested her because she didn't have all the paperwork with her. But that's something that you can find out. That's something that could have been looked up. Country says, I don't understand why the name on the deed and loan isn't enough to prove ownership and kick them out. It should be. And again, in my opinion, squatters should be removed with extreme prejudice. Thrown the hell out. Dragged away, kicking and screaming. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. I can't imagine. What a sponge. What a sponge. You know, just bad enough. People living off of the system. Living off of the system their whole lives. Taking advantage of people. Stealing from people. Lying to people. So like the Three Stooges, nothing to do but sleep and eat and sleep and live off the fat of the land. Live off the fat of the land. And we're all paying for it. It's not just her. We're all paying for this. All these programs, these are people, they're citizen consumers. Citizen consumers. They exist to consume. And they contribute nothing, and we have to tolerate their existence. They live off of, they get welfare, food stamps, and whatever other programs. They get everything for free. They get a free phone. They live wherever the hell they want and don't pay. And we're expected to just absorb that. They're not required to contribute anything. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. And Gordon says your social and political analysis is better than most any source on YouTube. Just needed to let you know. Well, I appreciate that, Gordon. Oh, and speaking of appreciation, before I forget, I wanted to say thank you to William. William made a donation directly to the PayPal link. William made a donation directly to the PayPal link to help out our shelter cats. Always appreciated. Brian wants to know, what if someone squatted on them? Well, that's what I had recommended, because I know someone out here who had done that. He had squatters on his house, and he hired people to double squat on them and drive them out. So he paid them to go and live in the property with them. You moved in here, we're moving in too, and made it insufferable until they just took off. And then, he paid them and they went away. But it's a shame that you have to get to that point. And Puck says, I've heard of these squatters' rights originate from the 1800s. I cannot think of a logical reason why they haven't been repealed unless it's politically motivated. Yeah, exactly. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. I don't know if I cast to Restream today or not, and that's Coffee Talk 2 on Restream. I'll have to check and see if it worked. I have no idea, because I've had a great deal of difficulty getting them connected, even though Restream says that it's easy. Or Rumble, excuse me, casting to Rumble. I said it wrong. It's Coffee Talk 2 on Rumble. But I don't know, because as much as Rumble likes to blow its own horn, it's really extremely wonky to work with. But again, thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.